picture this. You are on a really long overnight transit.
Yeah, like a bus or a train.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You are settling in for the long haul. The lights are dimmed. The rhythmic hum of the engine is vibrating right through the floorboards.
Yeah.
And almost everyone around you has drifted off to sleep. I mean, you know that feeling, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very specific vibe.
It is. But as the hours tick by and the darkness outside gets thicker, the silence of the other passengers starts to feel just, I don't know, a little bit heavy.
Yeah, it shifts.
Right. It shifts from peaceful to isolating. You look around the dimly lit cabin and you realize you are entirely disconnected from the outside world.
It's a profound state of vulnerability that we willingly subject ourselves to. I mean, you're physically confined in a fast-moving metal tube.
Yeah.
Your spatial awareness is completely restricted by the dark, and your fundamental safety is outsourced to, well, to a single driver.
Just one guy awake at the wheel.
Exactly. We accept this because of the social contract of transit, but when that contract breaks down, the resulting hyper-awareness is intense.
Okay, let's unpack this because that hyper-awareness is the core of our deep dive today.
It really is.
We are exploring a factual account drawn from our source material today, which is titled The Unblinking Passenger of the Midnight Bus.
Such a chilling title.
Oh, it really sets the tone. So the setup is deceptively normal. It's a routine 14-hour overnight journey from Jaipur to Devahradun. And it departs at exactly 7:40 p.m. into a rainy night. So our mission today is to reconstruct the timeline of this harrowing journey.
Right.
But more importantly, to analyze the sequence of inexplicable events that terrified the passengers. We are exploring how physical isolation, extreme environmental conditions, and group psychology all compounded into this chilling reality regarding what was actually on board with them.
Yeah, to understand the eventual breakdown of reality on that bus, we really have to look closely at the baseline of normalcy established at the start.
Right, the mundane stuff.
Exactly. The beginning of this trip is heavily grounded in the mundane. You've got a rattling suspension hitting every single pothole on an Indian highway.
Oh yeah, you feel every bump.
You really do. There are flickering overhead lights, an air conditioner that barely works, and the passengers are engaging in the typical behaviors we use to cope with transit discomfort.
It's totally the classic micro-community of travel.
Yeah.
I mean, you have an old man near the front who starts snoring almost before they even leave the city limits.
There's always one.
Always. And there's a college couple sharing earphones to watch a movie, two businessmen quietly arguing over stock prices. It's just the drone of everyday life.
Very normal.
Right. And our window into this space is a passenger named Arjun Mehra. He's in seat 18, so he's about halfway down the aisle.
And he's awake.
Yeah, he happens to be someone who really struggles to sleep on transit, particularly during storms. So because he's awake, he becomes the primary observer of an anomaly.
What's fascinating here is the anomaly itself. It's striking purely because of its lack of action.
Right.
In the very last row, directly beside the emergency exit, sits a woman wearing a pale gray saree.
Just sitting there.
Just sitting. She is completely alone. And she is exhibiting behavior that, honestly, defies the modern condition of travel.
Yeah, no phone.
No phone, no water bottle, no reading material, no music, just absolute void-like stillness.
It reminds me of, it's like a paused video frame in a fast-moving world.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like walking into a room and realizing the ticking clock you've been subconsciously ignoring for an hour is just suddenly stopped.
Yes, the absence of action is louder than the action itself.
Exactly. She never shifts her weight. She just stares silently down the aisle. Highway lights flash across her face through the rain-streaked windows, but she doesn't react at all.
Not a flinch.
Nothing. I was reading the part about her total lack of movement, and I have to admit, it actually made my skin crawl.
Oh, I don't blame you.
Why does a complete lack of natural micro-movements, like, blinking or shifting weight, why does that trigger such an immediate primal alarm in humans, even before anything supernatural happens?
Well, we are hardwired to scan our environments for biological indicators of life. A living human being is basically a symphony of micro-movements.
Okay, like breathing.
Right. We breathe, our chests rise and fall, we swallow. We constantly adjust our posture to relieve pressure on our joints.
Because sitting perfectly still actually hurts after a while.
Exactly. And most importantly, our eyes make tiny rapid movements called saccades.
Saccades?
Yeah, saccades. We use them to map our visual field constantly. So when the brain observes an entity that registers visually as human but lacks all of these biological indicators, it plunges us straight into the uncanny valley.
Where the brain essentially says, this looks like a person, but something is dangerously wrong.
Exactly the mechanism. Absolute stillness in nature usually signifies one of two things:
Much horror.
a predator freezing before an ambush, or a corpse.
Oh, wow. Yeah, both of those are bad.
Very bad. Both require an immediate fight or flight response. The amygdala fires off distress signals, completely bypassing the logical prefrontal cortex. And we see this instinct perfectly encapsulated by the little boy on the bus.
Oh, right, the kid. So around 10 p.m., this little boy is walking down the aisle to use the restroom, and he just stops dead in his tracks beside Arjun's seat.
He's terrified.
Yeah, he's trembling. And he whispers to Arjun, "That auntie is scary."
Kids just know.
They do.
Yeah.
Arjun tries to do the comforting adult thing, suggesting she's probably just tired. But the kid cuts right through that rationalization. He just shakes his head and says, "She keeps looking at me."
Because children haven't yet learned the societal habit of talking themselves out of their own instincts.
Right.
An adult will see something terrifying and invent a comfortable narrative, like, oh, she's meditating or she's a deep sleeper, just to avoid causing a scene.
We really don't want to be rude.
Exactly. But the child simply processes the raw data. Her gaze is predatory and unnatural.
And that interaction forces Arjun to look closer. He looks back into the dim lighting, and it's the eyes that completely shatter the illusion of a safe journey.
Yeah, the eyes.
They are wide open, reflecting the passing highway lights, and she doesn't blink. Not even once.
To stare unblinking for hours is a physical impossibility for a living human.
Right, your eyes would dry out.
Exactly. The cornea requires constant lubrication. By stripping away that fundamental biological function, the situation moves from a psychological discomfort to a tangible, creeping dread.
Yeah, the rules are changing.
The parameters of the mundane bus ride are fracturing.
And those parameters get completely obliterated as the night deepens. We transition from the uncanny valley into something that actively defies the physics of the space.
It gets so much worse.
It really does. It's
Yeah.
around 1:15 a.m. The rain is pouring down, dense fog has rolled in, and Arjun wakes up from a shallow nap.
And the atmosphere is totally different.
Completely. The first thing that hits him isn't visual, it's acoustic. The normal rattling, the suspension, the humming of the tires, it's all gone.
Dead silence.
Yes, unnaturally silent, to the point where even the massive diesel engine sounds like it's miles away.
This is a hallmark of sensory isolation. The dense fog and the dark night severely restrict the visual field.
Uh-huh.
And when visual input drops, the brain naturally attempts to compensate by amplifying auditory input. But here, the acoustic deadening suggests a detachment from reality itself.
Like they're floating.
Right. They have entered a liminal space, a threshold between destinations where normal laws of physics and time seem suspended. The environment itself feels like it's holding its breath.
A suspended reality.
Yeah.
And everyone is asleep except for Arjun and the woman in the back row.
But her posture changed.
Yes. She is no longer staring blankly down the aisle. Her head is turned, and she is staring directly at him.
Chilling.
Her unblinking eyes are impossibly bright in the dark. He feels physically sick. He turns away. He checks his phone zero signal. And then, out of nowhere, a violent thud strikes the side of the bus.
A massive physical impact right in the middle of the fog.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It wakes the entire bus up. People are panicking, shouting, asking the driver if they hit an animal in the road.
And the driver.
The driver stays completely silent and just keeps driving.
He knows something is wrong.
Definitely. But Arjun immediately looks to the back row. This impact just violently jolted a 14-ton vehicle, and the woman has not moved a single inch.
Which is the ultimate confirmation that she is disconnected from the physical environment.
How so?
Well, a sudden loud noise and physical jolt triggers the Moro reflex. It's the involuntary startle response.
Like jumping when a door slams.
Exactly. You cannot consciously suppress it. It's biological. Her complete lack of reaction confirms she's occupying the space visually, but she is not tethered to the physical reality of the bus.
Wow. Okay, so the tension on the bus is bad enough at this point, but the 2:30 a.m. T-stall break is where their collective reality just fractures.
Yeah, they finally stop.
Right. They pull over near a forested, misty stretch of highway. Everyone piles out into the freezing drizzle, just desperate to be off that bus
They just stretch their legs.
and get away from her. They cluster together under an awning, and the whispering starts. One passenger nervously asks if anyone actually saw the woman board.
This sparks the realization of a shared cognitive blank.
Yes. The college girl chimes in and says, "Oh, I thought she got on at Agemer."
But she didn't.
Right, because her boyfriend immediately argues with her, insisting, no, she was already sitting there when we left Jaipur.
People start comparing notes.
Exactly, and the terrifying truth drops. Every single person remembers her sitting there during the ride, but ultimately nobody remembers actually seeing her board the bus.
Nobody.
How does a group of strangers all misremember the exact same thing?
Well, we have to look at how memory functions in routine environments like commuting. The brain enters a state of automaticity.
Meaning autopilot.
Basically, yeah. We don't record mundane data like a stranger taking a seat because it isn't a threat. But when these passengers are later forced to recall that data under extreme psychological stress, cognitive dissonance kicks in.
Because it doesn't make sense.
Right. The terrifying reality is that she simply manifested in that seat. To avoid the psychological breakdown of accepting that physical impossibility, their brains confabulate.
They make things up.
Yes. They invent conflicting narratives. She boarded at Ajmer, she boarded at Jaipur. They are desperately trying to apply a rational timeline to an irrational event.
Here's where it gets really interesting. They are trying to reverse engineer her existence to feel safe. Right.
Exactly.
But the driver kills that comfort instantly. He overhears them arguing, his face goes completely grim, and he tells them flat out she hasn't moved since they left the terminal.
He confirms it.
Yeah. Someone tries to break the tension, making a nervous joke that maybe she just sleeps with her eyes open. But the driver just stares at them and says she hasn't blinked either.
The driver functions as the ultimate authority figure in the microcosm of transit.
He's the captain of the ship.
Right. When the authority figure validates the anomaly, any remaining rationalizations the group was clinging to just evaporate. He confirms their primal fear is not a shared delusion, it is a shared reality.
So the driver claps his hands, tells everyone they have to get back on board.
I wouldn't want to get back home.
Me neither. They reluctantly climb back into this rolling metal tube. Arjun gets to his seat, dreading looking back. But when he finally checks the back row, it's completely empty.
The transition from a psychological threat to a classic locked room mystery.
Totally. I kept trying to figure out how they could have missed her leaving. But the mechanics of the space make it impossible.
They checked everything.
Everything. The emergency exit window next to her seat, the driver checks it, and is firmly locked from the inside. The onboard restroom. Completely empty.
Nowhere to hide.
No. They check under the seats, nothing. And remember, the passengers were all clustered outside the only operational door. Nobody walked past them.
Right.
The driver even sweeps a flashlight over the wet pavement outside on the highway. No footprints walking away into the dark.
It is a total breakdown of physical laws. We have a defined closed system.
Right.
For a physical mass to exit that system without utilizing the single point of egress violates basic physics.
It's impossible.
The bus ceases to be a vehicle transporting people from point A to point B. It transforms into a moving container of paranoia. The foundational logic they use to navigate the world has just been stripped away.
A moving container of paranoia is the exact feeling. Nobody is sleeping now. They're just staring at the empty seat as the bus grinds forward into the night.
Waiting for her to return.
Exactly. And this brings us to the core of the haunting, because the mystery shifts from how she vanished to why she was there at all.
A crucial shift.
It becomes clear her presence is deeply tied to the physical geography passing by outside. At 3:40 a.m., the dead bus radio suddenly crackles to life with thick, heavy static.
An intrusion of the external environment bleeding into the internal space.
Through the static, a fragmented voice just repeats 43 passengers dead.
Over and over.
Yes, the driver gets furious, smacks the dashboard, and kills the radio. But Arjun notices the driver's hands are trembling on the steering wheel. Arjun presses him, and the driver reluctantly reveals the dark history of this specific stretch of road.
The driver acts as the custodian of the local lore.
He knows what happened.
He does. He explains that years ago, during a severe monsoon storm identical to the one they were driving through, a night bus lost control on this exact curve.
It's like history repeating.
Yes, it plummeted into a deep, watery ravine near kilometer marker 72, killing almost everyone on board.
Kilometer marker 72. They are literally driving over a graveyard. And at the exact second the driver finishes saying, "Almost everyone died," the little boy points to the back row and screams.
The timing is horrifying.
Everyone wicks around. She is back, sitting in the exact same seat, motionless, watching them.
But she's changed.
Yes, and I need to push back on this because I'm struggling with the logic of what happens next.
Okay, let's hear it.
Earlier, we established she was a dormant presence. A creepy anomaly, sure, but dry, pale, and seemingly disconnected from the physical space. Now, the text notes she is smiling this slow, unnatural smile.
Right.
And her pale gray sari is completely soaked. It's dripping onto the floorboards, as if she just climbed out of deep water. If she is an imprint or a manifestation of a memory, why does her physical state suddenly change so drastically?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the intersection of memory and geography.
Okay.
Before, she was a dormant echo merely riding along. But as the bus physically approaches kilometer marker 72, they enter the specific locus of her trauma.
The actual site of the crash.
Exactly. The violent external environment of the past, the deep ravine, the crushing water, the terror of the crash, is finally manifesting physically inside the cabin.
So the water on her clothes.
Is the water from the ravine. The smile indicates an active awareness. She is no longer just a passive anomaly. She is the active embodiment of the tragedy, confirming she is an echo of that specific disaster, welcoming them into her domain.
Oh man, the environment violently bleeding into the machinery. So the driver absolutely panics. He slams on the air brakes.
The only thing he could do.
Right. The bus goes screeching into a chaotic skid across the wet asphalt. Luggage is crashing out of the overhead racks. Passengers are screaming. It's total chaos.
Total panic.
And in the middle of that violent sliding halt, she just blinks out of existence. The back seat is empty again.
Wow.
The driver refuses to touch the gas pedal after that. They just sit on the side of the road, trembling in the dark, until the sun finally comes up.
It's a completely rational survival mechanism. The psychological toll of encountering an environmental imprint of that magnitude would incapacitate anyone's ability to drive.
Oh, definitely. Which brings us to the harsh light of morning, where things are supposed to make logical sense again.
Supposed to. Anyway.
Right. They limp the bus into a small roadside town at sunrise. The passengers are huddled inside a local tea shop, drinking hot chai, completely traumatized, waiting for a replacement vehicle.
A safe haven.
Yeah. They are quietly whispering about the woman, and the tea shop owner overhears them.
The roadside tea shop owner in these scenarios often functions as an archivist, the keeper of the region's dark history.
He really does. He doesn't say a single word to them. He just walks into the back room and comes out with an old, yellowed newspaper clipping that he's meticulously sealed in plastic.
He's been waiting for this.
He places it right on the table in front of Arjun. The headline is, "Massive Night Bus Tragedy Kills 43 on Devgar Highway."
43, just like the radio said.
Exactly. And the date printed at the top is September 14th, 2017, exactly 9 years earlier to the day.
This is the crucial pivot in the narrative. We move from a subjective, shared delusion in the dark to cold, undeniable documentary evidence.
Hard facts.
Yes, the terror is no longer contained within the paranoid minds of the passengers. It is validated by historical journalistic record.
So what does this all mean? Because right below that headline is a photograph of rescue workers pulling bodies from the mangled wreckage deep in the ravine.
And who's in the photo?
Standing right there in the background of the photo, amidst all the chaos, is the exact same woman. The same pale face. The same gray sari.
Unbelievable.
The exact same wide, unblinking eyes. And the text of the article specifically identifies her as a victim whose body was swept away and never recovered from the water.
Which retroactively explains her soaked appearance at the climax of the drive.
Right, the river water.
Her physical manifestation is permanently trapped in the traumatic condition of her final moments.
The tea shop owner quietly mentions that transit drivers still see her on the roadside during bad storms. But it is the old man from the bus, the guy who was snoring peacefully at the very beginning of the trip, who delivers the most devastating insight.
What does he say?
He looks at the clipping, his hands are literally shaking around his tea glass, and he whispers, "She was checking who belonged there."
That is an incredibly profound and dreadful framing of her behavior.
It changes everything.
It completely recontextualizes her presence. She wasn't just aimlessly haunting a vehicle. The old man is positing that she acts as a grim auditor of souls.
An auditor, sorting the living from the dead. Think about her behavior through that lens. She sat perfectly still, staring down the aisle, watching every single passenger.
Assessing them.
She never blinked because she was literally counting them.
The old man's theory implies a deeply unsettling, cyclical nature to tragedy. Because her body was never recovered, her trauma remains unresolved, physically tethering her to that stretch of highway.
She's stuck there.
But the implication is that she is actively looking for others to pull into her unfinished business. She was evaluating the living passengers, checking the ledger to see who among them was destined to join her in that watery grave.
Checking who belonged to the living and who belonged to the dead. And when the driver miraculously managed to slam on the brakes and stop the skid before the bus plummeted into the ravine, they essentially survived her audit.
They passed the test.
The ledger was closed, so she vanished. It makes my blood run cold just thinking about the sheer calculation of it. That unblinking stare wasn't just a spooky visual, it was an active measurement of their lifespans.
It strips away any comforting illusion of coincidence. It suggests a predatory intelligence driven by the unresolved physics and emotional weight of the original crash.
It fundamentally changes how you view a simple commute. And that brings us right back to you listening to this right now.
Yeah, the listener.
After tracing the timeline of Arjun and those terrified passengers, from the mundane, flickering lights of Jaipur to the undeniable documentary evidence in that sunrise tea shop, your perspective on transit is going to shift.
It has to.
The next time you find yourself settling into a seat on a dimly lit overnight bus or a train carving its way through a stormy night and the cabin gets quiet, you aren't going to be able to ignore it.
You'll be looking over your shoulder.
Definitely. If there is one passenger sitting in the very back row, perfectly still, perfectly quiet, watching the aisle, you are going to wonder.
This raises an important question about the spaces we blindly travel through. We treat highways and transit routes as empty, functional veins connecting cities.
Just pavement.
Right. We assume they belong to us. But how many lonely stretches of road hold on to the physical memory of the violent tragedies that occurred there?
Too many.
Are these specific locations simply waiting for the right atmospheric conditions? A heavy monsoon rain, a dense fog, a specific hour of the night to hit play and force the living to witness the worst moments of their history?
It's a deeply unsettling thought to carry with you on your next trip. And I want to leave you with the final lingering image from the source text. Just something to mull over the next time you're driving through a storm.
It's quite an image.
Arjun is standing in that safe, warm tea shop. He looks out the window, past the glass, out toward the highway still choked with morning fog.
Safe and sound.
Right. But for just one brief second, standing in the distance beside the empty, rusted highway barrier, he sees her.
Out in the fog.
A lone woman in a pale gray sari, standing perfectly motionless, watching the road, without blinking. If her body was never pulled from that ravine 9 years ago, is she still out there right now, just waiting for the next midnight bus to take her home?
I wouldn't wait to find out.
Neither would I. Keep your eyes open on your next trip. And maybe remind